Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. I am Paul Krieger, and I am joined this week by my lovely wife, Amy Krieger.
Hello.
And Marissa Valentin, Vice President of Global Marketing and Sales for World of DVC. Welcome, Marissa.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This week we are here, and I thought it would be an opportunity for us to talk swapportunities, which is a word that I think we're going to trademark here eventually. But we've mentioned this before on shows and stuff like that, but different ways to use your Disney Vacation Club points outside of the traditional Disney Vacation Club resorts. We know that DVC offers some options for that, but a big thing over at DVC Rental Store in the past few months that has really blown up has been the option to use your points at a lot of different locations and things like that. And I think that it's important to sort of maybe highlight that because we're getting more questions than ever of people just saying, I'm burnt out of Disney, I've done it this many times, I'm ready to explore more things in Orlando, do X, Y, or Z. And so I think these options are going to be great options for you to use your points and things like that. Speaking of DVC Rental Store, if you do love our content here at DVC Fan, DVC Rental Store is one of our sponsors through the world of DVC. They'll be able to help you book a discounted Disney Vacation Club villa for a fraction of the cost than what you would pay through Disney. Or again, we'll get into this later in this show, if you're looking to rent out your points or potentially swap your points for a different kind of vacation, they can help you with that as well. Also, DVC Resale Market. If you're looking to purchase a Disney Vacation Club resale contract or looking to sell your Disney Vacation Club resale contract, they have experts over there that can help you through that process and help make that a smooth purchase. And also Monera Financial, who is the lending arm of the DVC resale world, and they'll help you with financing that Disney Vacation Club purchase as well. So show some love for our sponsors over at World of DVC. But without further delay, swapportunities. So we wanted to sort of dive in, like I said, this week and talk a little bit about sort of the swap options that DVC Rental Store has. But, first and foremost, why should DVC members, swap their points or use their points in a different way? Marissa, thoughts?
Yeah, I think when it comes to selling DVC directly, right? If you go to any Disney Vacation Club presentation, they're first going to tell you the main way to use your points, right? And that's through the DVC villas. But then they're going to touch on other ways. And really what Disney wanted to do, because there are different umbrellas of the Disney business, is they wanted to be able to kind of harness the points and say, yes, you can use points for a cruise or for Adventures by Disney. But the tough thing is that when you start to look at that as a DVC member and you start to see the points, you go, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Just because it just uses such an incredible amount of points. And so I think that's always in our DVC members' heads to say, I would like to use my points for other things, but they kind of have put that desire away when they start to play around with the point charts. And I think coming on the resale side, one of the biggest questions we get is, hey, can I use my points for a cruise or for Adventures by Disney? And maybe this is before they've done the math and seen the points. So I think what makes kind of opening up those gates of how you use your points so special is, one, DVC members, they love that Disney vacation, right? But they might want to change it up. And I think that's the beauty of becoming a DVC member is that, yes, you have your home resort, but you can change up where you want to stay pretty much every time you come back, as long as you're planning it right. And so DVC members don't traditionally always stay in the same room, in the same location every year. They like to change it up, but they still want the Disney quality. So I think being able to use your points for other things really kind of broadens your vacation lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think that's really what's been unique and what we've done over at DVC Rental Store over the course of the past year is really sort of broaden your options in terms of how you swap those points and also make it a much simpler process. So, we've talked a lot before about swapping your points, whereas you're renting out your points, you're getting money for your points, then you're going and booking that vacation. And DVC Rental Store sort of simplified that, where it's sort of a one-stop shop for that entire process. So you're going to book that vacation or whatever you're looking to do that's different with your points. You're going to essentially know how many points you need to rent or exchange for that vacation. And you're going to go through the rental process similar to any other renting member. And once you get to that value of that trip, then you're good to go. You go on that vacation. And there's not all of that sort of money exchanging hands, all of those processes that sort of go through that. And, Marissa, to your point, it's a tremendous savings, especially on some of these ones that we're going to get into that are direct from Disney that they also do exchanges for. And the first one that I sort of have on the list is Disney Cruise Line. Amy and I last year took our first Disney cruise vacations. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're sort of hooked on cruising.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like, it's such a good value to go through the swap program because you would pay so much more, to cruise if you went through Disney directly. But I just want to cruise so much. And we and that's one of the reasons that I think that it would be cool to have more points was because, it would just be an easy way to use them.
This is the second show in a row where you've suggested buying more points. It's getting a little scary. But no, yeah, to your point, it is a tremendous savings, a tremendous value. I pulled up real quick. We have some comparisons of this over on the DVC Rental Store website, but a 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruise on the Disney Fantasy for July of 2023. If you were to book that directly through Disney is going to basically tell you that is 706 points for a double occupancy room. And also they're going to charge you a $95 fee for doing that process. If you were to go through the swap program, so essentially swap your points for the same vacation, booking through DVC Rental Store, it's going to be 309 points. So that's a savings of over 397 points. And also you don't have to pay the $95 fee. So essentially going direct through Disney is twice the price. You could go on a 14-night sailing on the Disney Fantasy for that same price. For those people that have never gone on a Disney cruise, what would you say is one of the biggest reasons why you should consider it?
So normally when you're using your DVC points, you're booking your hotel. And when you use your DVC points for a cruise, it's like your hotel,
all inclusive,
basically. Food, yeah. Like they're taking you places, different countries, different. We can hop on a cruise, drive to the port and hop on a cruise and be in the Bahamas on a beach, over the weekend. I don't know. It's kind of cool to think about.
We've said this multiple times. If Disney could just make their internet work a little bit better, we'd be working from a cruise ship more often than not.
It's getting there, though.
It's slowly getting better. They've recently implemented some improvements, and the price is a little bit better in terms of internet and stuff like that. But in us sort of setting up and prepping for this show, for those of you that are not aware, Marissa used to be a direct sales guide with Disney Vacation Club, which means she's gone on. Do you have the exact number?
No, because previous to that, I was a cast member in the shows. So I spent about 10 years on Disney Cruise Line. There was a time where my husband and I used to work together on the ships, but we spent 9 months straight without taking a day off on the ships. So that was our longest stretch. So I don't even have the number.
Lost count somewhere. But you said that you've never done a cruise since you left Disney.
I've never done a cruise as a guest, a Disney cruise, because I went straight to Disney Cruise Line when I was 21 and then stayed out there for 10 years. And I was telling you guys before this, I was pregnant when I left. And maritime law, you have to get off at 6 months pregnant. You can't come back on it still work.
Oh, they
kicked me off. They kicked me off. I had to go back to land life. But my son's 5 now, so I've been waiting for him to be old enough to go to the kids club. So I am itching to go back and get the guest experience as a family.
Can I ask which ships were you on?
Everyone.
All of them, except for the Wish.
Except
for the Wish.
Yeah. See, I dream of going back on the dream, and Marissa's just lived on it for
her home.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
And I think even to your point, Paul, one of the cool things is with the swap program, correct me if I'm wrong, you can go ahead and you can book that cruise. So if there is a specific one you want to go on, you can book that without having to wait for like the points to get rented and the payout. Obviously that has to come at time of check-in, but you're not like saying, hey, I'm going to try to rent these points and then I might miss out on the cruise. You guys make that very simple.
Yeah, I always sort of equate it to like a three-step process that we have at DVC Rental Store and sort of getting that going, which is first and foremost, we're going to plan that vacation. So we're going to start with excitement. We're going to plan whatever this swap is that you're going to do with your points. And we're going to go ahead and book that on your behalf and have that sort of on standby, ready to go. And then you start to worry about renting those points to sort of pay down that vacation and pay down that balance. And the biggest thing is you just have to have your points rented by the time you get to that final payment date. And that's that time where we basically sort of true up everything. We say either you've rented all of the points that you need to rent for this vacation and you're good to go. Maybe you've rented more than enough points, in which scenario, you can have those funds sit and apply them to a future swap, or you can get those funds paid out in cash, like our traditional method of payment. And then last but not least, if you've not rented enough points on that specific swap, then you could compensate whatever that remainder is with a cash or credit card payment to pay off that remaining balance.
Which is huge because with Disney directly, you can't do that. You have to have the points to cover each full person. You can cover other people on cash, but you have to have at least the points. And once you read those points, I mean, it's a steep amount that you have to have. So there is no combination of points and cash, which I think is really cool that you can do in the swap.
And also, I think worth mentioning here is something that we see very frequently, at least over at rental stores, people coming to us and saying, hey, I used my points with Disney Vacation Club to book this cruise, but I had to cancel it. Can you rent my points? And the answer to that question is no. And the reason is that when you actually book directly through Disney Vacation Club, they basically transfer those points. And I think they move from vacation points
to reservation
over to reservation points, which is a different categorization of points within Disney Vacation Club's system. And reservation points can only be used for cruises, Adventures by Disney, any of the other hotel collections that they have that are not Disney Vacation Club properties. So it really restricts your use on those points, let alone the fact that we've already mentioned it is just a tremendous ripoff, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, so remember we looked at doing that with Disneyland Paris, and then we had to cancel that trip because of the pandemic. And I'm so glad that we didn't use our points because
that was in the newbie days for the creators of being DVC members.
But there were people that had used their points for like international, those things, or cruises, and because of the pandemic, it got canceled, and their points were stuck as reservation points, so they couldn't go and use them for regular DVC stays.
Yeah. So honestly, when it comes the price difference is number one when it comes to reasons why you shouldn't go direct through Disney on these. But number two is definitely that conversion, because it's just going to significantly restrict how you can use those points. And I think that's something that there's not enough education on, and people don't know that's going to be the case in the event that they have to cancel or something like that. So I mentioned this a second ago. Adventures by Disney is another swap option. So if you're looking to go on an Adventures by Disney vacation, that's another option that you can swap your points for through DVC Rental Store, and they're going to give you a much better value than if you were to actually go out and do that through Disney itself. I've never been on an ABD. Marissa, have you done an ABD or anything like that?
I haven't, but I have a very close friend who we've met on Disney Cruise Line, and he became kind of a close family friend of ours. So he comes and stays with us once a year. His name's Damien. He's an adventure guide, and he normally does Paris and France. And so he gives us all the tips on that. But right now I'm following him on Instagram, and right now he is in Antarctica, and he got chosen, which was a huge deal. He got chosen to be the vacation guide for the Antarctica trip, and it just looks spectacular.
Yes,
so
I want to go to
I
Antarctica.
watched from afar.
That's like really high on my list, and Paul thinks I'm crazy. And the
I'm gonna
AVD.
get you Damien's info, and he's gonna sell you on it.
Well, we're in Florida right now, and it's about 78 degrees, and you're freezing cold.
I know, I am really cold right now.
And Antarctica, I don't think is going to be much better. We're going. We actually are going on a Royal Caribbean Alaskan trip, and your entire Christmas list this year was like boots, winter coats, vests.
Have you done Alaska
So then
before?
I can reuse them for Antarctica, repurpose them.
Backed myself into that one, didn't I?
Will this be your first Alaska trip?
Yeah. Yep. So we're actually going to go on Royal Caribbean, but it's our 10-year wedding anniversary. So we decided to go up and do an Alaskan cruise, and it departs out of Seattle. So we're going to explore Seattle for a day or two, and it's going to be a super, super fun trip. So I'm excited for that. And then I guess we're going to use the clothes down the road at Antarctica. So we'll be doing that one next. But again, just looking at savings here when we compare dollar for dollar what you would spend if you would actually exchange your points direct through Disney Vacation Club versus swapping them with DVC Rental Store. I'm just randomly looking. They have a South Africa ABD, 10 days, 9 nights. If you were to book that directly through Disney Vacation Club, 5,084 points. Don't know how many people really have that many points to swap, but that's a hefty amount. And if you were to book that, swap your points, book that through DVC Rental Store, 2,534 points. So over a 2,500 point savings right there. Again, you could go to South Africa twice. I think that speaks volumes to sort of how Disney treats the swap program, which is it's an easy way for them to get a hold of your points. And a lot of people might ask, what do they do with the points once they sort of get them? They essentially rent them themselves. So what Disney does is they basically, any of the points that they capture through those programs, they take that and then they rent out that inventory and make their own money off of that. When you talk about renting points or something like that, Disney itself is one of the biggest renters of points. Any cash inventory that you see available for Disney Vacation Club property is them essentially renting the points that they've retained or the points that they currently still have, or points that they've recaptured through these programs through Disney Cruise and ABD. So,
and I think that confuses a lot of people if they go on like the regular Disney booking website and they see Disney Vacation Club rooms. To your point, that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think the coolest thing that's really happened over the course of the past year is these two swaps were sort of the tried and true of DVC Rental Store, sort of where the swap program started. So, cruises, Adventures by Disney, things people that are Disney addicts know and love. And then we sort of turned it on its head and said,
why not more?
Yeah, why not more? Or why not? The common question that I think we got a lot, especially over the course of the past year, people were maybe unhappy with Disney. People were tired of the same thing. And so they were looking for new options to explore with those points. And so we took that and sort of hit the ground running, and lo and behold, invented 4 new swap opportunities, or as we are trademarking, swap-portunities.
Swap-portunities.
Here at DVC Rental Store. So I thought it would be fun to sort of go through those options, and I don't think there's any better one to start with than Universal Orlando Resort. I think that's been the most creative one that's really come out of the past year, through a partnership with Universal Orlando, you can now actually swap your points for a Universal stay. And I know Amy rode the Velocicoaster here about
Marissa was right behind us.
We were together.
Yeah. That was your first time, right?
That was,
yep.
Yeah. So for people that, maybe have never been to Universal, Marissa, what would you say is the primary difference between Universal and like Disney? Like what's different about the experience and makes it a little bit more exciting?
I think the thrill rides. I just don't think you have that comparison at Disney. I think Disney they do totally different experiences, where Universal's really goal is having those pretty insane thrills. I think from being a boy mom, the boy experience, I think California Adventure offers a lot of that. But I think here in Orlando, Walt Disney World doesn't quite have that boy experience all in one place like Universal does. So from Jurassic Park to Harry Potter to Minions to your superheroes, like they have it all in one spot. And so I think if you do have boys in the family that kind of want that boy adventure, Universal does a really good job with that.
Yeah, I think one of their taglines is like "Start with Whoa" or something like that in terms of their advertising material. But that's what I see the most in terms of people that are interested in, maybe people that have been Disney Vacation Club members for many years and are now looking for something. It's sort of to your point, anyone that might be a boy mom or something like that. And have like a little teenager now in their family, or anyone whose kids have maybe grown out of Disney and are teenagers now growing up looking for maybe a little bit more of a wild, thrilling experience or something like that. That's really where Universal excels, is they have, some amazing rides that do all of those things.
Yeah, and so a few other things that I really like about Universal is that everything is kind of right there walking distance, and so I really value that. That's one of the things I really love about Disneyland too. But
I was gonna say it's got that Disneyland feel in a sense.
yeah, and so you can, whether you're staying at the hotel or you're just a local, even, and you're driving there, you park in one spot and you can take a boat or you can walk, and get to Islands of Adventure, get to, Universal Orlando, or what is it, Universal Studios, or City Walk. City Walk. I'm trying to think of all the names. And we're Disney people at heart, but we've really started to kind of fall in love with a lot of Universal stuff lately. And Volcano Bay is amazing. I was never a water park person, and we went for the first time around Paul's birthday last year, and I told Paul before going, I was like, I'm not riding any of the water slides. And we went with two friends of ours, and I was like, you guys can ride, and I'll hang out and lounge and do whatever. And they kind of convinced me to go on them, and I had the best time. A little scary, but I never laughed so hard, in my life as on that giant blue. I don't know if it was Inco Moana or, oh my gosh. So that water park to me, and I've seen the Disney water parks, and they're nice, but Volcano Bay is definitely an elevated water park experience. And then just like Marissa said, the thrill rides. I love the Velocicoaster. It's definitely up there as one of my top rides in the area, if not that I've ever been on. And then the Haggard coaster is amazing. We got to ride that at night very recently, which was just a whole different experience. So there's just some really cool experiences to be had. And then if you use your points to stay there, and you stay at one of their deluxe level hotels, you get that express pass included, and that is a huge value that you can, it's like basically having a lightning lane that's unlimited, that you're not restricted to how many times you can use it on the ride, what time of day you have to go. So that's a really cool thing. If you buy it separately, it's a little more expensive, but if you kind of do the math, it's kind of a value to stay at a deluxe resort and have that.
Yeah, and most people that we've seen take advantage of the Universal, swap over the past year have really decided, that they're going to stay in those deluxe level accommodations to harness that Express Pass benefit. Because if you're one of those people out there that miss Fast Pass, it really is Fast Pass-esque in how it works. You go in that separate line, and it definitely cuts your wait time in half. So definitely, I would highly recommend, looking at those deluxe level properties when you are looking to swap your points for a Universal vacation. But like you said, Volcano Bay must do. I was highly critical early on of them saying that it was a 3-park destination. Considering a water park a theme park is, I don't know. Been there, totally sold. It is a 3-park destination. I had more fun that first day that we were at Volcano Bay than I've had in a theme park in many years. And it's just, they've totally reinvented the water park experience. It is that fully immersive sort of theme park vibe. And the cool thing about Universal is they're just getting started. Here in 2025, we've got Epic Universe on the way. So there are huge, fun things continuing to come to Universal that maybe if your family has not experienced one of those types of, one of those parks, then definitely add it to your list for sure.
And
Next
Paul, one
up,
more
yep,
thing
go ahead.
before we jump over, that's really cool is also when you're using your point swap, you can also use your points for the tickets. And so that's, I think, another really huge benefit because again, to Amy's point about like why cruise, why adventures, because it's all included. Well, this is another great way where you can say, hey, I'm going to cover my hotel. If I stay deluxe, I get express pass, and we'll go ahead and just knock out the tickets too with our points. And then you have no out of pocket expenses except for your food.
Yeah, and that's unlike what most people are having to do since annual passes are not on sale right now, which is
Right.
they're buying tickets. And that's honestly, again, another layer of frustration that we've heard from a lot of people is that I don't want to spend all this money just on tickets and go there again when, I could harness that entire package over at Universal. So we've seen a lot of people, take advantage of that. And great point there, Marissa. Next up on the list that I have here is a new swap option that we actually just added over at DVC Rental Store. And that is through a partnership with Incredible Vacation Homes. And Marissa, I'll let you speak to this too a little bit, but I'll just start by saying I was in one of these homes recently and they are insane.
They're not real homes. Like it's hard to even call them a rental home because they're in Reunion Resort, and Reunion Resort is really incredible. They've got an actual like hotel in the middle of the resort, and so with that comes like lots of amenities, right? So you have lots of restaurants. The rooftop bar is spectacular. You can go up and watch the sunset, perfect view of the fireworks. And then with all of these homes as well, you're getting the water park access. So the water park has all of your slides and lazy rivers and pools. So it really is kind of that amazing vacation just a couple miles away from Walt Disney World. And these homes, to your point, Paul, they're anywhere from 3 bedrooms and they go up to about 13 bedrooms. And you're talking sleeping anywhere from 6 to 35 people. It's crazy, but I think every house there tries to be better than the next. So the decor is just insane. You'll walk in, most of these homes have full on like arcades. They've got full on like adult game rooms with pool and poker tables. They also have full on themed princess rooms or superhero rooms or wizard rooms, and not just like a little themed, like down to like every layer of like the beds are built out and customized. And then, of course, you've got just spectacular, usually all of them have very large, like en suites. So each bedroom has its own bathroom. So again, if you're going with multiple families, everyone has their own space. The kitchens are incredible. The pools are incredible. Pretty much almost every house has their own private pool as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. The one that we were recently in, like you said, had some different themed superhero rooms and things like that. And literally, I feel like I could have gotten, like, if I was not on a guided tour of this house, I would have probably gotten lost somewhere within it.
They're mansions. I mean,
yeah,
they're like legit mansions.
Legit, like,
that you can rent for your family.
yeah, huge mansions. And like, I've just pulled up just a random one here. There is an 8-bedroom mansion. 396 points for an entire week stay next December.
Crazy.
I mean, just a crazy value for something like that. Now, granted, you're not in the Disney bubble necessarily, but, a lot of DVC members are beginning to explore outside of that space. A lot of people are beginning to rent cars, so they're already having that transportation that they need to go to and from other locations. And so why not take that a layer further and have an entire family reunion, essentially, for your Disney vacation or for your Orlando vacation? Because I think that's the other thing here is you don't necessarily have to go to Disney if you're staying in one of these homes. So,
and we just had, like in December, I had about 14 of my family members in town, and they're all DVC members. So they all booked separate rooms at Saratoga Springs. And so the total accumulation of points used for that week was probably around 500. And so when you take in consideration, and then we were bouncing from like rooms to rooms and then trying to find places to dine together. And that gets tough when you get in kind of that large of a party. And looking back, we actually launched this program right after they all left. And I was like, I wish we could have done that because even these homes to sit and have like a meal all together. You know, you can order in or you can cook, but to just have kind of that, when you have a family that big and you are maybe doing parks or other activities, it's nice to have that space to come together, play games, eat together, where you can all be in that same space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much to do in Central Florida and near Central Florida. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like obviously we love Disney very much, and if you're coming to see Disney, but then you can expand out, go to Universal, go to SeaWorld, drive a little farther, go to the beach, go to the Kennedy Space Center, go towards Tampa and go to Busch Gardens. Like there's so many things that you can do, that staying somewhere like that could put you like in a good location to kind of try other stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny. A lot of members that I've talked to have been like the older Old Key West people that have had like their points forever, and it's like an epiphany for them when you tell them about these new programs, because they're like, I never thought about using my Disney Vacation Club points in that way. But I think it harkens back to what we have said year after year when it comes to purchasing Disney Vacation Club, which is it is an investment in your future of vacationing. So it's not just. It no longer is just that investment in the future of Disney vacationing, but it is that investment in the future of all of your vacations over the course of your life. Through all of these different options, you can basically go anywhere anymore. And if I would hearken, what my boss would necessarily say on a daily basis, if you want to swap your points for an 80-inch television, we'll find a way to maybe make it happen somehow. I think that's what's cool about what we've done this past year over at Rental Store, is that we've really sort of just unlocked the door and sort of said, what options are out there in terms of swaps? And I would say that probably if we redid this show like a year from now, there would be another twice as many options. I've been in discussions of some crazy ones already that we can't talk about yet, but just things that you would never think of swapping your points for. So I think there's some additional great options. Also on our list, there is a beach house swap on Anna Maria Island, which is on the coast, basically a little bit south of Tampa. So you're going to be right on the Gulf, beautiful sunset views on the Gulf. It's just a awesome place to be. We've gone over there several different times, not necessarily to the beach house, but we've gone to Indian Rocks, and just that Gulf Coast is absolutely gorgeous. I know, Marissa, you've been to the beach house. What can you share with us about what people can experience there?
Yeah, I think for those of you who haven't been to the west coast of Florida, it's like what you would imagine, like these incredible like white sand powder beaches, very similar to what you're going to find like in the Caribbean. And so that's what you're going to find in Anna Maria Island. It's kind of a sleepy little beach town, but there's so many fun little shops and restaurants, and the house there, again, very similar to what we're seeing like with these reunion homes, is just beautifully themed. Now, you're not going to find like your theme park or Disney theming, but it's very just nautically and beach themed, like to a T. So you walk in, it's a stunning kitchen. You have views right of the Gulf. It's right beachfront. So you can hop out and you can paddleboard. We actually went out on the little like kind of pool noodles. We were floating on those in the middle of the ocean. And all of a sudden we had a manatee come and just start swimming under our feet. And he was just kind of like playfully touching our feet as we swam around. So unreal experiences. You open up your blinds in the morning and you're going to see dolphins jump by. So again, if you're wanting to explore Florida a little bit more, the West Coast, as many of us Floridians would say, is the best coast. And it is one of the best places to stay if you're heading out there.
Sounds like we need to go.
You're just trying to get more points.
It's not that far from us.
No, it's only about 2 hours here from Orlando, and that's maybe with a little bit of traffic. If you're going without any traffic, maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah, and I will. This is absolutely random, but I will tell people if you are looking for a different opportunity, potentially look at flying into Tampa as well. Mm-hmm. We've done that recently. Our Amy's mom came down to visit us, and she flew into Tampa, and it was so much easier to maneuver.
That airport is just calm, like compared to MCO. It just felt like really calm, and just a lot easier to navigate. And if you do fly into Tampa, make sure you go into the actual, like, it's landside and you see the giant flamingo, because that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I took my picture with it. It's so cool.
Insert picture now. And so, yeah, it's easier, especially for where we live, to get to Tampa. It's not a bad drive if you're headed to the Orlando area. Obviously, try to plan around rush hour and stuff like that, because you just never know what traffic could be like during that time. I-4 is always a little bit crazy, but it's definitely worth the trip. And I think, if you're looking for a new way to use your DVC points, looking for maybe just that relaxing beach vacation, then definitely the Anna Maria Beach House is the way to go with that. Last but not least on our list here is the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. So jumping back to Disney for one of our last ones. And I just wanted to sort of wrap us up with this one specifically because earlier last month we saw DVC announced essentially a discount, so to say, on Galactic Star Cruiser stays if you were to actually use your Disney Vacation Club points for that. And originally, sort of the news realm took that running and sort of said, oh, it's a discount on Star Cruiser, it's amazing, all that kind of stuff. But when you actually looked at it, it was just a small discount off of the standard point chart pricing that they would charge you for the Galactic Star Cruiser. For those of you not familiar with what the Galactic Star Cruiser is, it is a new sort of, basically they're calling it like a cruise on land. In terms of what it is, it's a 2-night adventure where you're going to be fully immersed in all things Star Wars. You're going to take and have a voyage that takes you down to Batuu over in Hollywood Studios, and it is just a fully immersive experience. I've heard nothing but amazing reviews for the Galactic Star Cruiser itself. Marissa, have you had any friends or heard much about sort of what that experience is like or what people can expect?
I had a couple people who I knew try it out during like the media times. And yeah, if you like Star Wars, I think there's probably nothing more incredible than that type of experience. It is extremely themed and very immersive, like everything from your meals, even like I think during the meal they had like some sort of like alert, and it wasn't like at a real emergency, but it was like you had to go and help and fight on whatever side you were on. So it's very, very immersive throughout.
Yeah. And I think what's been crazy about Galactic Star Cruiser is I think the deal previously was something like 30% off of whatever the standard point chart rates for a Galactic Star Cruiser stay would be if you used your Disney Vacation Club points. So 30% off of the standard rates. Now, I'm going to tell you what the standard rates are as compared to if you were to swap your points through DVC Rental Store, and you can see that there's still plenty of room to work with here. So if you were to go on a 2-night Galactic Star Cruiser vacation, 2 adults, this is some older pricing that we have back from March of last year, but it was going to be, if booking direct through Disney Vacation Club, it was going to be 698 points plus that $95 fee because someone had to spend 5 minutes with you to actually book it. But if you were to book that stay with DVC Rental Store, 267 points. So you're saving over 431 points. It's like we said previously that you could go on 2 cruises. It's almost like you could go on 3 Galactic Star Cruisers for the price of one of going direct through Disney. And this pricing has been all over the place. It does vary depending on when you go. So those numbers do always differentiate. But even if you took 30% off of that top rate price that Disney's charging, and they give you that discount, it's still not equal to the savings you get if you swap your points on that trip. And I think that's just absolutely wild. So,
well, and I think Paul too, like with your team, and obviously like everyone knows your expertise when it comes to points, but your team all has that. So whereas like we're not going to have every example on DVC Rental Store, but your team is fantastic with that. So if there is like a stay that you have in mind or an 80-inch TV, just let your team know and they'll just figure out the point exchange for that.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a link down in the show notes of this video to all of our swap options that are over at DVC Rental Store because probably confusing. This is a little bit of a longer video, so we've gone through all of them here, but there's definitely a lot more to explore and a lot more information out there. And then each of these options basically have a little inquiry form where you could fill out some general information and get in touch with someone from our swap team where they'll begin to sort of go through that process. Like I said, first, we're going to talk about that vacation because that's the exciting part. We're going to sort of plan that and get you an idea of how many points you would have to rent to exchange for that vacation. And then we'll get that booked for you. We'll start renting those points to pay down that balance that you have for that vacation. And then you get to go and have fun. And I think that's the coolest part is with all of these, you're having fun in ways that you never probably thought you were going to when you purchased Disney Vacation Club. So any last thoughts other than we need to buy more points? Sounds good. Well, Marissa, thank you for joining us again this week for this episode of the DVC Show. Hopefully, pretty soon on the next episode, you should see us coming back to you from the studio with our entire panel back together for our shows. So we're excited to get back in the studio and start back on our regular routine of things. But thank you again for watching this. If you liked our video, please give us that thumbs up. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also join in the conversation over on dvcfan.com or in the DVC Fan Facebook group. That'll do it for us, and we will see you all next week.